Thank you.
Keep the stress levels down.
I'll try. I will.
For the woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody. So today we were just going to be doing a talk on our sleep, which I said that we would look at last week. So I'm glad everybody's here today. And again, we'll leave a little bit of time at the end if anybody wants to ask some questions. So I'm going to, for some people who weren't here last week, I'll do a little bit of a recap of the anxiety that came into our program, but we're also looking at causes of sleep disturbance, and then we're looking at a few tips that will help us manage, hopefully, our sleep as well. Okay, so I'll just begin to do the screen share here. This is the first time I've actually did co-host or moved from co-host to full host. So hopefully everything's going to go okay here with this share. It was here just a few moments ago. So yeah, here we go. Yeah. So if anybody has any problems and they want to unmute themselves, they can ask, just unmute yourselves, and I'll stop the screen share and we'll just take those few moments. So as I said, like last week, we did look at anxiety. And for those who don't know, maybe new to the group today, my name is Alison Hughes, and I'm a counsellor in Marfeld. And I manage people just with lots of different areas. And even I think about Zoom right now, that people are coming from everywhere because distance isn't enough. It's no longer a cause of people not getting to see me any longer. So distance isn't a problem any longer. But let's go fully into this sleep program today because it's now 11:10 and it probably will take the full hour. And I will stop, check in with everybody to see how they're doing. But right now I can't see you. I'm just seeing my own, the sleep management course. So let me just do the slideshow on it and from the beginning. Okay. So as I say, like, welcome to today, and ask some questions. And this is being recorded, so don't be worrying about missing things. Louise will have a recording of it. So it means that, if you want the recording to look over it again, feel free to ask her because it's going to be available to you. Right now, whenever you think about our lives being so busy, and we look at all of the things that are coming into our lives and what's happening in our lives right now, we think about how this is disturbing our sleep. We're looking at the pressures and the demands, maybe of family, how to juggle all of those demands. And we're looking at, how it doesn't become uncommon then to change our sleep patterns. Whenever we think that maybe before we were getting better night's sleep, and maybe now it's broken, maybe now we can't get to sleep, we can't get over to sleep, or we're waking up a lot during the middle of the night. So that's what we're going to be trying to look at how to manage. The importance of sleep, it is really important because whenever you think about sleep deprivation, sleep is enabling the body to repair itself, and it's re-energizing for the next day, rebuilding for the next day. It's repairing muscles, even if you think about your skin, all of those things, there's lots of different things that's repairing. So it is really important. And I would say to people that if they consider that their sleep is an issue for themselves, that they do need to speak maybe to the doctor about it, just to break a cycle. And we'll talk about the sleep cycles and maybe about breaking that a little bit more through it. So this is where I was saying that you're the rest and recovering from the day, because you are subjected to wear and tear. So you need a good quality of sleep to be able to manage your mental sharpness, manage your emotional balance, and manage your physical vitality, really, even your weight gain, because people say if you sleep less, that you're more likely to put on weight. So trying to get those 8 hours of sleep is so important. And we're going to look just briefly at the two types of sleep. So there's REM sleep, which is called, and then there's non-REM sleep. So rapid eye movement is the REM sleep. And REM sleep makes up about a fifth of our sleep during that cycle. And this is the part where our muscles are starting to relax, but our eyes are still moving, rapidly, from left to right. So you may notice, like if you're watching somebody, that their eyes are moving from left to right quite a lot during that stage. And then you look at the 4 stages of sleep. So you look at the drowsiness, that's stage 1 in REM. And then you look at stage 2, where you're going into a slightly more, you can easily wake up, but if somebody come into the room, but you're just drifting at this stage. And then stage 3 and 4, you're going into that deeper sense of sleep. And most of us go through those different stages several times during the night. And it's really, really interesting to think about your deep sleep, your deep stage of sleep. I was telling another group that sometimes during the winter I'll put on bed socks because I'm cold. And I wake up during the night and they're gone, like they're off. And I'm thinking, well, how did those socks get off? But obviously I've taken them off. This is where we're looking at how much sleep we actually need, because people sometimes get really frustrated at how many hours they're getting, and that frustration can turn into anger, being really, really frustrated. So you think about babies will sleep maybe 17 hours a day. Older children, they talk about 9 or 10 hours. I think I said days, but it was 17 hours each day. And then older children, 9 or 10, but most adults, they talk about 8 hours sleep is sufficient. Some people may feel they need more, but actually you should try and just sleep the 8 hours, because if you have more than 8 hours, that isn't good for the body either. And then you often look at older people. When we get older, we're often awake much longer during the night. So their sleep is affected. And, within those first 3 or 4 hours, they'll often find that they're waking up quite a lot. So this is where we're starting to look at the things that start to affect our sleep, okay? And Louise mentioned there, the amount of things that maybe she has to do, like last night doing that International Women's Day, and, today doing a meeting, trying to get more money for her group, which is vitally important for the group. So you look at stress, stress of what comes into your day. And whenever you think about the amount of stress that's happening, how much can you switch off from that? How much does that still keep continuing to play on your mind whenever it comes to bedtime? Anxiety is something that we talked about last week. And whenever we think about having anxiety, it is natural, it is primitive, and it is inbuilt. The anxiety itself is our way of managing threat. So we're either going to fight through it, take flight from it, or freeze in it. And do you remember sometimes when we looked at it last week, we looked at sometimes it can be so overwhelming that that you've got so much to do, but you can't do anything. You're just stuck in your thoughts. We also talked about adrenaline last week, where we looked at how our body is flooded with chemicals. So whenever we feel that anxiety within, we start to notice maybe the upset stomach, maybe the butterflies in the stomach. We start to notice the bloodstream, going into different areas, maybe being taken away from different areas. So you're going to notice the rapid changes within the body. So this is where you're looking at feeling a little bit uneasy until a complete sense of dread. And that was where I was looking at the post-traumatic stress disorder. And where we look at panic, you can go into that panic attack if it becomes so overwhelming. So it moves from maybe having that sense of butterflies, or maybe that heart beating just a little bit faster, to something where you can't breathe or you feel as if you're having a heart attack. And that's where we're also looking at rushing around, getting very, very little done. If my internet falters just a little bit, let me know as well, because I notice it's buffering just a little bit here. Anxiety is where we looked at that worry cycle, where we look at you're underestimating your ability to cope with a situation, and they're usually not true. Whenever you realize that you have come through different situations in the past, sometimes it's about looking at those and remembering those times and bringing that back to the current situation and remembering what coping strategies you brought to help you manage that situation. Each individual is completely different. So something that can cause somebody to be anxious may not affect somebody else. So everybody differs greatly within that. And even whenever you look at stress and anxiety associated with the pressure, how it can remain or how somebody's able to let it go, how somebody's able to shake it off and just let it go. We looked at last week how it's a learnt behaviour. So maybe whenever we think about our mum and dad, whenever we were growing up, our significant people in our lives, if we watched them, being anxious around different situations, we will have absorbed that and maybe carried it through into our adulthood. We also look at trauma, how it can affect anxiety. And we also realize that anxiety can become a habit. So something that's imprinted in the brain, once it's learned that, then you go into another situation and the brain recognizes that anxiety. It can be a repeated habit over and over. This is where we looked at the adrenaline response last week, and we looked at how it flooded our body. So whenever it floods the body, we notice the heart racing, being taken to where it's most needed. And that's where we looked at the fight, flight, or freeze response. For example, it's being taken away from, our fingers and toes where we don't need it, or our skin. And that's where you notice the tingling. Sometimes people recognize they have pins and needles. Your breathing gets faster. And you look at the side effects of that, you become breathless. And sometimes people feel that they're choking, and that's where it's going into that sort of panic stage. But whenever you think about the adrenaline itself, it's really that it's preparing our muscles to maybe take flight, or to run from that situation, or having to fight through that situation. Last week we talked about sweating, and we also talked about our pupils dilating, and that meant that we were becoming more hypervigilant, in those situations. We looked at how the digestive system slows down, and it's not important for us, to have that sort of area. So it saves energy and it puts it to where it's most needed. Where we look at becoming hypervigilant, it makes us more aware of that danger, of that threat, but it also makes us less able to concentrate on anything else. So we talked about maybe people who were, who enjoyed reading the newspaper or watching TV shows, less able to concentrate on those certain things. Do you remember last week we talked about the anxious cognitions? That's our thoughts. So, and it was, I'm in danger right now. And we looked at this may be the worst case scenario. That people might go to that worst case rather than I can manage this. Has happened in the past. I survived it. People sometimes go to the worst case scenario. But the likelihood of that is extremely high. So I won't be able to cope. That's another thought. That's another belief. And then because of that belief, I must escape it. You're underestimating your ability to cope. and you're overestimating the threat, the danger. Last week, we also looked at the behaviors that comes along with anxiety. So you might notice yourself in some of these situations here in the behaviors. Avoidance of things, withdrawal away from, trying to escape from, maybe using safety people, maybe always carrying water, maybe going into a place but always looking for the exit. Avoiding eye contact, and that's a big one. People, whenever they're feeling anxious about things, they just try to avoid people and try looking at, if I don't look at them, they mightn't see me, mightn't have to talk to them. Hypervigilance, where you're just constantly being aware. We also looked at the medication and the self-medication. We looked at drugs, and we also talked about alcohol, how people try to suppress that anxiety that's being felt, and these are the things that they might use, to help suppress that. This was the little model, and you think here, right here, this is the event, and then, this is the stuff that happens every single day, and then you look at the thoughts. So this is where it uses the senses. So whenever you think about hearing, seeing, feeling, even tasting, these could be triggers, as well. And then this is where the brain is already deciding what it's going to do. And I told you about the experiment where the brain, maybe 2 seconds before you consciously become aware that you're going to do something, the brain has already decided what it's going to do before you become consciously aware of that. So let's just take a break just for a second here, and then we're going to talk about the other things that can affect your quality of sleep. So I'm just going to stop this just for a second. Okay. So right now, I want you just to think about your daily lives. I want you to think about the things that are affecting you right now in your sleep patterns, if you've anything that's happening right now. And I'm going to do a little experiment during this. So if you think about things causing you sleep, disturbance, but it's not very high, like if emotionally effective. So if it's 10 being really emotionally disturbing and not being disturbing at all, I want you to think about something that is disturbing and maybe rating it about 4 or 5 or 6, just something around that middle line. Has anybody got something in their mind that's causing them sleep disturbance that they can think of? Just raise your hands, if you've got anything. Okay, good. So just take a mental note of that, okay? If you want to share, you can. And then we're going to look at it after the experiment, the technique that we're going to use. If you were to rate it right now, what number would you give it? Joan, would you like to say what number you would give it right now?
10.
A 10. Okay, that's maybe not ample. We'll try and bring something else that is a little bit less than that, but you can still use that yourself and still see, after this little technique, because whenever I'm using this technique, this is used for something that's not too disturbing, and it does change, it does make change, but something's really high, it might bring it down a little bit, but it still might remain. So just notice that, okay? I'm not going to ask you to share, but it's something that you're making a mental note of. Okay, all right. So I'm going to go. Has anybody else got something that's about a 4 or 5, 6? Anybody want to put their hand up just to say that they have something? Okay, Irene, good. Okay, and has anybody else got something that they want to use? Because I would say this is going to be something really, really good that you can help change, something. So just try and think about something that's happening for you right now. Okay, just take a mental conscious awareness thought on it. Okay, so let's just go back to that screen share. So other things that affect your quality of sleep. this is where I'm going to ask you to do a visualization. And before, I'll just stop this a second, and we're going to do a visualization first, and then I bring that up again. So I want you just to close your eyes just for a second. Okay. And I want you to think about your bedroom, where your bedroom is. I don't want you to walk into your bedroom yet. I want you to stand outside of your bedroom. So just bring in all your awareness to that place where you're standing outside of your bedroom. And now I would like you to open your bedroom door and to step into the room. And as you step into your bedroom, I want you to have a look around. I want you to notice what is in the room, what technology is in the room, like clocks or TVs or computers. Just noticing what's there in technology. I also want you to notice if the room feels cluttered or spacious. So just noticing that clutter, if there is any. Just looking around the room. And now I want you to walk over in your mind's eye towards your bed. And I actually want you to go over in your mind's eye and sit down on your bed. I want you to notice the mattress, the support of the mattress. I want you to lie down and feel the pillow underneath you and the mattress. I want you to notice, does the pillow support your neck and your head? Does it feel comfortable? Is it too high, too low, too flat, or is it just right? So just noticing the support of the pillow. And now I want you to notice your mattress. Is it too hard? Is it too soft? Is it just right? Does it support your body comfortably? And now I want you to notice your bed linen. If you have a quilt or sheets or blankets, I want you to pull them up over you and notice the weight of the quilt or the blanket, whatever it is that's covering you. I want you to notice the weight of it. Does it feel right? Is it too light? Is it warm enough? Is it too warm? Or is it not warm enough? So just noticing what that feels like. And as you lie on your bed, feeling supported by the mattress, I want you to have another look around the room. And I want you to notice the light that's coming into the room. I want you to visualize yourselves with the curtains pulled. And notice, is it too light? Is it too dark? Or is it? I want you to notice the noise inside of the room. Is there noise coming from outside of the bedroom? Outside of the windows? Just noticing the noise. And as you look around this bedroom, is there any changes that you would like to make? Whenever you think about that clutter that might be in the room. How do the wardrobes feel? Is there clutter, too much clutter inside the wardrobes? would you like to declutter some of this? So just noticing for now. And now I would like you to get up off the bed and walk out of the room and close the door. Coming back into this space right now. Opening your eyes and coming back into the room. You're smiling, Diane.
I could have slept through that. I actually think it was maybe a few wee times that it was a wee doze.
Yeah, I was the same. It's so relaxing, isn't it?
Oh.
You can't go much longer, what about sleep? You sleep better
So
during the day than you can at night.
Yeah, okay. And we'll talk about those little power naps. We'll talk about those as well. But whenever you're in the bedroom, how did the bedroom feel? Did it feel as if there was anything that you needed to make changes within? Whenever you felt the quilt or the curtains, or how did the bedrooms feel in your mind's eye, or the clutter? Was anything that needed to be changed? Did it feel okay? Okay, all right, okay. So let's just go back to the screen share now, just so we notice that, and I'm going to talk about the things that can disturb the sleep. Okay, just a second. Where am I at here? Okay, so sometimes when we think about the regulation of the temperature, so whenever you get into your bed, you know that sometimes you can be a little bit colder, especially in the wintertime, and maybe your quilt isn't warm enough. So you might have to change if you've got, sometimes people talk about a summer quilt and a winter quilt, the light tog and the heavier tog. So sometimes people need to change those quilts. Even thinking about the room temperature, sometimes people put electric blankets on if they need them, if their house, is a little bit colder. And then we look at the noisiness, outside of, or about distractions. So people will look at, what is the noise like outside? And they also look at the support of their pillow and their mattress. Is there something, maybe I've had it too long, maybe I need to change it, to give myself more support. So just looking at the effects that these do actually affect some people, and they've had, whenever they've changed to regulating their temperature in the room, that maybe they've been able to get over it quicker because they haven't been cold, or maybe they're too warm and they can't get over, so they need to decrease the temperature. The thing about it is our bodies will naturally heat up, whilst we're in bed, and especially women, of a certain age as well, where they go through the menopause, their temperature, their body is just like a furnace. So you have to think about getting into bed maybe a little bit cooler, knowing that your body is going to warm up. I've also put in here about a partner who snores. And it's really interesting to think about the number of people who will just try and put up with that without doing anything about it. So I say to people, it's okay to actually say, look, let's have an agreement here, maybe for one night or 2 nights a week, that if there's a spare room, that partner who snores can actually go out into another room. There's nothing wrong with the relationship. It's just about getting a good night's sleep. You don't have to put up with snoring. Sometimes people maybe go out and try, earplugs. That might help if it's not too bad. Sometimes people change their bedtime routines, so that they're going to bed together, so they get over together, so one isn't coming up later and listening to the snoring and getting frustrated by hearing that and not being able to get over. So you look at changing your bedtime routine, within that. Irregular bedtimes, that is something, if you're trying to break a bad sleep cycle, whenever I'm going to be talking about the tips, that's something that's going to be really important, for like 17 to 14 days when we're creating change. Okay, so these are the things then that affect people's sleep. Whenever you think about your routine of going to bed, and what you do before going to bed. This is where we're looking at people, how they like to snack, late at night. Maybe you need to bring that back. If you like to have something to eat, it's maybe about bringing that back 2 hours before bedtime. If people like to have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, this is really, really important if you're having sleep disturbance. Caffeine within the coffee is a stimulant. It's going to wake the body up again. It's going to wake the brain up again. And this is something that you really do need to have a look at. Now, these are only suggestions. So if you need to make changes, it's about saying, I can make some changes just for a couple of weeks and notice if there's any difference. If there's no change, if you haven't taken coffee out, well, then maybe it's something different. But I would say to you right now that I used to drink coffee, and I realized that, well, I do drink coffee. I love coffee. But I won't have it after 3 o'clock. 3 p.m. was my cutoff time, because I realized that if I was having that later, I was staying awake longer. So I make sure now that 3 p.m. is my cutoff time for that. I can have, 1, 2, 3 cups a day, but 3 p.m., that's it. Children, babies, absolutely disturbance of sleep. Whenever you've had a child, that you're, as a new mum, that you're constantly being awake, maybe to be aware, like you're receptive to hearing that noise, that baby crying. So, and even whenever you think about being pregnant, you were awake, and that's really preparing you for whenever that baby's going to be awake. What I'm saying here is, children who wake up, it is important to share the responsibility, with the partner. You do not have to take it all on yourself. You do not have to be the person that always gets up at night, to go to that child. Even if the child demands it, the child will also get used to the partner being there and going in. Children are very, very good at manipulation as well, of getting their own way. So whenever they get used to the partner coming in to share it, that will start to calm the child, as long as they know they're being tended to. So share that responsibility. This is where we're looking at tips on improving the sleep. Okay. We're going to be looking at something that I'm going to put into like a 2-hour wind down. That's what I call the sleep routine, is a 2-hour wind down. So we've talked about coffee. If you want to have a drink at night, there is people, I don't know if people like malted drinks, but sometimes people will change over to that Ovaltine, something like that. Even hot chocolate has caffeine in it, but not as much. So maybe that might be okay if you're changing from coffee. Herbal teas are good, but not a green tea. A green tea also has, stimulants in it as well. Exercise. So whenever we think about our exercise, very, very, very important for the body. Very important. Even if it's just a walk. It doesn't have to be a fast walk. It just has to be a walk, like getting outside. But I would say sometimes people go into that exercise, they can only do it at nighttime, and they might go into what's called as HIIT exercise. So that's really increasing the heartbeat, and it's fast. And whenever you think about the timing of that, you're trying to bring that back down at least 2 hours before bedtime, because you don't want to activate the body. That in your 2-hour wind down, you're trying to do everything in your power to cause relaxation, to let the brain know that you're going into that wind down mode of the day. So even thinking about TV, sometimes people only can sit down late at night, to when everybody's in bed, everything's done, chores are done, whatever it is, and they start to watch TV that's stimulating. They start to watch a drama that's really engaging. start to watch, action things on Netflix that you become really engrossed in. This is something I've had to do during work. Like, you're working all day and you sort of think, well, this is my time. This is my time that I want to enjoy. And I realized that if I got into a show on Netflix, like a box series, and it's bad to say it, but I would actually have saw myself sitting and watched it to maybe 12, 1 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock. And I think, what am I doing? I know I have to get up the next day and be present and be mentally, astute for people that I'm working with. And I'm sitting to 2 o'clock in the morning. So I had to change that. So now I won't, if I find a box set that I like, I'll not watch it to the weekend. And I'll make sure that I'm watching something less engaging. I maybe just pick up a book instead, not too often at nighttime. I try and do that during the day. People who have Kindles, that's something else. Whenever you think about your Kindle, they've updated it now. If you have the older version, you will notice you've got that blue light. And that's something that's stimulating the brain as well on your Kindle. So whenever I talked about your devices, what you're looking at, what you're watching, if you think about your phone, again, it has that blue light on it. Everything in a blue light is stimulating the brain activity. So Kindles today have a part where you can change it over to nighttime mode, and you will see the difference in the light changing over. Even if you think about your phone, if people scroll at night, if people can't sleep, they're most likely to pick up their phone by their bedside and start to scroll. And again, you're looking at that blue light, and I know everybody does it. Like, people do it because they're looking for something to do. So the tip I would suggest, if you're able to not have your phone beside your bed, or if you can change it over to, if it's a smartphone, if you can change it over to that different light, that's going to help. Whenever I think about alarm clocks, people have alarm clocks that are mostly digital now. And if you look at the color of the light, whenever you look at that alarm clock that's facing you, is it too bright? So if you can turn that around slightly, so you're not seeing that light, you mightn't think that you're noticing it, but your brain, your subconscious brain, is picking this up. And as we talked about last week, it's always aware. It's engaging in everything around you. Sometimes people have different opinions about this, about getting up. This is really, you have to gauge this yourself. People feel really, really frustrated when they're lying there tossing and turning. So people sometimes get up, go down the stairs, do something different, and then come back into the bedroom. Again, whenever you think about this, it's looking at your own frustration levels. If you're able to toss and turn, I would say write that down. How long are you actually doing it? Because sometimes people think that that's happening longer than it actually is. So try and take a mental note of the time and how long it is. And then whenever you're thinking about how long did I actually toss and turn for, is it worth getting up and going downstairs? The brain has to associate the bedroom with rest, and it also has to associate it with switching off. So whenever I think about books, TVs, how much do you actually do that within, in that sort of bedtime routine? Maybe it is that you need to watch your TV down the stairs and come up the stairs and just know that it's bedtime. Whenever I talked about the cycle, we're looking at change for 14 days. If you were to go to the doctor and you think you absolutely cannot break your own sleep cycle after maybe doing some of these suggestions, the doctor will prescribe maybe tablets to break a sleep cycle for 14 days, and they do not want to give you that any longer than 14 days because they are addictive. But the reason why they give you 14 days is to allow you and to allow the brain to change the cycle, to break the cycle. And they say that if you've broken it for 14 days, you're more likely then to get into a good pattern of sleeping. So the sleep tablets, I know there's some on the market that you can buy that are herbal remedies that won't be as strong, and maybe they say they're not as addictive. But that's like a last resort, of trying something to break the cycle. I would say that we go in and out of cycles. Whenever we've got too much going on, we will notice that our cycle is broken. But when we notice that that becomes lesser and the stresses become lesser, we can get back into a good cycle again. So I think if we're to write this down, and I'll give you at the end here, you'll notice just a few tips that you can write down on. If we can do something for ourselves, but be strict on it for 14 days, 14 days, that's enough to break your cycle. So let's look at the change that we can create. If you have a book, and last week we talked about getting a journal. So if we talk about getting a journal and having it beside our bed, sometimes I think about within my 2-hour window, and that would be before I'm going to bed, but I can maybe carry it up with me and have it by the bedside. Within my 2-hour window, I would be looking at perhaps doing that wind down where you maybe have everything done and this is your time. So it could be then that you have a relaxing bath. It could be that you have like a meditation, a visualization, maybe on your bed with quiet music, nice relaxing music. Whenever you think about types of meditations, there's lots and lots of them that you can pick up free on your phone, on YouTube. It's just finding that voice, that good voice that you can listen to. Then you look at your to-do list. So everything that maybe you have to do for yourself during the week, your diary, your calendar, the things that you have to do tomorrow, that all goes down in your book. So you write it down. So at least then whenever you're going to bed, in your mind, it isn't swirling with, I have to do this, I have to do that, I must remember to, I mustn't forget that. So it's remembering to write everything down in that book, even remembering what your day was like. If you wanted to write down how you felt emotionally, getting everything down in that book. This is just for you. Lavender, they say, is something that is relaxing. Even if you put that into the bath, sometimes people have it in their pillow. The spray, there's a little spray that you can put onto your pillow. So it's using anything that you notice that will bring the body down into that relaxed state. So again, we're going to have enough time just to do a relaxation, before we end here on this as well. Okay. We talked about that power nap. That was something that people might like to do. Power naps are good. I would say absolutely, they're absolutely fine. If you find during the day that you feel really, really exhausted, as long as you don't sleep too long, you will notice yourself, if you've had a nap, do I feel energized? Do I feel good? Or do I feel grumpy? Do I feel less engaging? Or do I feel, depleted? All of these things you have to notice for yourself. So they would say, don't nap after 3 p.m. If you're having a nap, try maximum 40 minutes. They talk about 20 minutes, but try maximum 40 minutes. Anything more than that will impact and can impact on your sleep. So try and just time yourself, like have a timer, have an alarm on your phone that wakes you up, and just notice how you feel yourself afterwards. This is for like whenever you think about your homework, that be maybe for younger people, get it done earlier. Or if you're doing it with your children, make sure you try and get it done earlier so that you can relax, in the evenings. Share your worries with people. Again, we're looking at the diary, writing them down. So sometimes I call like a little journal, like a burn-it book. You might have seen them, where if you think about something or somebody that's annoying or upsetting or having an impact on your life, sometimes whenever I think about that little book or that letter that you could write and then you can burn it. So you're writing that out as if you're writing to that person or to that thing or to that situation. You're writing everything down. You don't look at it for spell check. You don't look at it for grammar mistakes. You just write it out and flow it out. And then you decide what you're going to do with it afterwards. You either burn it or you're deciding that you're actually going to give it to the person. You don't keep anything inside. This is about releasing it, just letting it out. Avoiding stimulants. We talked about our food, our coffee, reducing it back to 2 hours earlier. Even whenever you think about people if they eat Chinese's or that sort of Indian food where they're heavy foods or that they have sort of stimulants in them, it's about 2 hours earlier. It's not that late bedtime eating. Even lights, if you think about changing from like a ceiling lamp to maybe putting lamps on, so you're changing the lamp, you're changing the lighting, again, that's bringing the body down. Again, looking at your bedroom curtains, you need to block out light. Is that something that there's too much light coming into your room that's maybe wakening up? You're not even conscious of that, but just notice whenever you check your bedroom out. Again, you're looking at your temperatures and just thinking about that bath. That is something that's really nice for people if they enjoy that. Breathing, we haven't looked at breathing yet. So again, even if you're thinking about that visualization on your bed, do you remember last week when we did the breathing and we talked about the breathing, was it coming from the stomach or was it coming from the chest? If you put your hand on your chest and a hand on your stomach and take that breath in, you will notice if it's coming from the chest or the stomach. So just take a few moments, just for a second right now. Just breathe normally. Just notice where your breath is coming from. So most people will notice that it's coming maybe from that chest area. And if it is, this is where you're trying to do maybe once or twice a day to bring it right up from the stomach. So that's where I would say breathe in for 4, hold it, and breathe out for 4. So I would nearly do like a square, like draw a square on your leg. So each breath, if you're going across, it's breathing in, hold, breathe out, going down, breathe in, hold, breathe out, 4. And that square is something that's a good visualization just to remember. Walking. Walking, as I say, is something that's really important for people, getting outside into the environment. A little bit of exercise if you're capable of that. If you're not, things like stretches is good for the body. If you're thinking about yoga, very good for the body. Again, you can get a lot of free ones. Self-talk, that's really important. Self-talk, to talk it out internally to the parts that's talking inside. There's maybe a couple parts talking. There needs to be a mediator inside to talk between the 2 parts. Okay, if that makes sense to people. Take those naps if you need it. Take time out if you need it. Read a book if you can. If you enjoy reading, remember to do that. Remember to engage with your friends. Just focus on your attention, and that's what I would say is being aware of what's going on subconsciously inside. So today, I know we did the visualization of the bedroom, but whenever you think about tapping into inside, it's about taking 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, to notice, how am I doing today? What's going on for me today? So even if you're sitting on your chair, how am I feeling today? What's going on inside? Music. Music is a wonderful tool to change, how you're doing. So sometimes whenever you think about what you have in the house to be able to play some music, a radio, CD player. I know that sounds kind of old now because of technology, how it's changed. But whatever you have in the house, even TVs, you can put the radio on the TV. Okay. Final thoughts on a good night's sleep. This is where we're thinking about, what is my sleep like for me? How am I doing? So you think about how important the sleep is. You also realize that we'll go through different periods that we mightn't be managing our sleep very well, but it can pass. And if you have any serious concerns, it's about going to your GP. It really is going to them and talking to them about the lack of, because sleep can bring up different diseases that people will, can happen for people, because it's about vitality and repair. And if you're not getting your sleep, it's about then what can cause, what can happen with not having enough sleep. We're going to spend just a few moments now on going into that technique that I said that we were going to use. And hopefully now you've all thought of something that is a little bit disturbing, not too much. Okay. So this is a technique, and I've got many, many different ones that people can use. But right now, I want you to bring up that thought that was there for you. Okay. Just have that thought in the conscious mind right now. Look at where it's at, what's happening with it. And now I want you to clear your mind from it. Just try and clear your mind. I want you to think about yourself on your favorite place that you like to go to. So can everybody just close their eyes for a second as we do this? Okay, and then I'll tell you when to open your eyes again. I want you to go to your favorite place. Again, it can be a beach, a forest, a park, a bedroom, a room. I want you to see yourself in that place. Just seeing yourself on it. And I want you to notice that place of safety, that place of relaxation. And now I want you to visualize a beach. And it could be any beach that you choose, any beach. I want you to see yourself walking forwards. So walking forwards on this beach, noticing perhaps the sounds, looking out to the ocean, noticing the warmth of the sun or the coolness of the air, just noticing. And I want you to count backwards. So from 20 to 0. As you're walking forward, I want you to count backwards. So I'm going to count with you. 20, 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. And this time I want you to open your eyes. I want you just to rub your hands together, just like this, just in circle. And this time I want you to rub your face all the way down, just like this, all the way down. And does anybody know that song, Row, Row, Row Your Boat? Does anybody remember that? Okay, now I am not a singer at all. So I'm going to say this, but please don't judge me on my singing, okay? I'm going to be brave. And hum it with me if you can, okay? Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Now I want you to go back to that beach. Close your eyes. And I want you to walk forward again. And this time we're going to count backwards again in twos. 20, 18, 16, 14, 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 2, 0. Okay, open your eyes. I just want you to watch my finger on the screen, okay? Just watch my finger going from left to right, just with your eyes. Just watch the finger. Okay, going back to row, row, row your boat. Doing it again. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Okay, just taking a break. I want you to go back to that situation that you had and what's happening now. If anybody wants to unmute, just to say if it's changed, if the number's changed, has it become lesser or is it still the same? Does anybody want to be brave? Okay, so if anybody can say on their situation that their number came down a little bit, put a thumbs up. Okay, 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 that's good. Now, what you can do is, oh, thanks, Diane. Thanks for the thumbs up. Whenever you think about that situation that was there, you can continue that just for a few moments more and notice how it becomes down even further. Okay, so let's just do a body scan one more time, just like last week. We're going to go back into the body and we're going to do a visualization that helps just to bring the calmness down, bring the relaxation down. Okay, so just closing your eyes, just becoming comfortable, just noticing the breath, breathing in, breathing out. And then just taking your attention to the top of your mind, just noticing the thoughts, not judging them, not having to do anything with them. Coming down into the throat area, just noticing the thoughts, just letting them drift, becoming aware of the throat, letting all the tension go. Breathing in relaxation into that throat area, just letting it go, just letting it relax. Bringing your attention to your shoulders. Again, just breathing in that relaxation into your shoulders. Just letting the weight go. Just letting them relax. Further still. Just letting them go. Letting all that worry, all that stress, letting it go. Feeling the shoulders becoming lighter and lighter and lighter. Just letting them go. Noticing that relaxation coming into the shoulders. Now moving down to your chest area. Again, breathing in that relaxation. Breathing in that clean air into the chest area. Just letting all that tension go. Noticing the relaxation moving into the chest with each clean breath. Noticing the arms and the hands. Again, just breathing in relaxation into the shoulders and the hands, letting go of all tension, all worries, just letting it go, just letting it go. Moving down into the stomach. Again, just pushing the stomach out. Breathing in all the way down into the stomach and noticing that relaxation coming into the stomach as you breathe in this clean, fresh air. Just letting it go. Letting all that tension, all that worry, all that stress of the day just go. Because this is your time. This is your space. This is safe to be relaxed and calm. Giving yourself that time out. Feeling more and more relaxed, just letting it go. Now I want you to take your attention down to your legs. It's being supported by your chairs. And again, breathing in relaxation into your legs. Noticing your legs, letting go, because they're being supported. Just letting go and feeling more and more relaxed, more and more relaxed. Just letting go. Bringing your attention down to your feet. And again, feeling strong and rooted, but relaxed. So just letting go as you're being supported by your chairs. And noticing the relaxation moving into the whole of the body as you sit being supported by your chairs. Letting all the tension go. Bringing all that relaxation into the body, into the mind. And noticing that this feels so good that you can do this at any time whenever you choose, daytime or nighttime, because it's important to bring relaxation into the body. Noticing the calmness. So just bringing our attention all the way back up to our thoughts right now. And putting our attention to our thoughts, we realize that this is so good to do. And we will be recalling this thought, recalling this feeling whenever we choose. But for now, we're going to bring our attention back to our awareness, back to the rooms that we're sitting in, noticing our toes and our fingers and our arms and our legs, just moving them a little bit as we sit supported by our chairs, becoming more alert, more awake, and in a few moments opening your eyes and coming back into the room. Feeling good, Diane? Good. Oh, Joan, you didn't get to do a little bit of relaxation. Good, Diane, thank you. Hi, Pauline. Hi, Bridget. So if anybody wants to unmute just to say how that felt, feel free to unmute.
You feel
That's really lovely. Very nice.
Okay. Sorry, Joan, you didn't get to do your relaxation. You'll have to do it again for yourself.
I do a mindfulness course on a Wednesday night.
Great.
So that's my me time, but during the day it's absolutely impossible with kids.
Okay, well, at least you do it, and that's good. And
Yeah.
it's really important to hear that me time.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear you do that. So whenever I think about sleep, sleep would be saying, I think, Bridget, somebody, you're asking for a copy. Yeah, I think that's being recorded. So I think Louise said that she would give it out to people who asked for it. So don't be afraid to, to say to her, and there will be a copy there. Sleep for me is so, so important. And I think about meditation as well. So me time, you think about how much you have to do for others. Thinking about that, it's then about you time, me time. And whenever I think about a good, helpful and healthy way of being, it's about meditation, movement, and mindfulness, those 3 M's. So, so important. Okay. So even if you think about today, if there was anything that you realized that you would like to make some changes, within your sleep routine, take a note of those tips and start to use them and try and bring them in for at least 14 days. Okay. And then notice within that, did that create change for you? Now, nobody else can do that for you, only you. So it's your responsibility to create the change for yourselves. And I've known, people who have implemented some of those techniques and tips, did create change for themselves. I know medication is something else, that impacts on people's sleep. So sometimes they need to, with advice from their doctor, if their tablets impact on their sleep, if there's different times that they can take them on, but speak with the doctor first of all about that as well, if you know that it's impacting on your sleep. So that's all that I have to say today. I hope you enjoyed it, and it was lovely meeting you all. And maybe I'll see you all in the future, with something else. So, hi, nice to see you on camera. Thanks for letting me see you. And it's lovely, just to be with the group today. So maybe Louise, or maybe you all can think of something else that you would like to do. If Louise has money, you've heard her say that Louise has money for the group. Don't be afraid of saying, this might be really good for our group. And bring it in. Louise, I think, is very good at hearing her group and then bringing in, something that might be good for you all. Okay.
Yeah.
So have a voice and say, this is what we would like to do. All right. And then they can bring in the people, they can find the people that can do that for you all. All right.
Thank you very much.
So,
That's really great.
Alison.
you're very welcome.
Thank you, Alison.
Okay. So have a lovely day, the rest of your day, and take care. All right. See you soon. Bye. Bye.